All right, it's time for some advanced eighth note beats. Let's go ahead and just dive into this first one here. So the thing that makes any beat an advanced beat is whether or not it's hard. So for some people, some of these beats will be really easy because they're very similar to beats you've already practiced or things you've already done on drums. And then for other people, some of the more basic ones are actually some of the harder ones because they're so used to like a complicated beat that like just simplifying things, slowing it all down with the metronome, that's the difficult thing. So practice whatever it is that's difficult for you. If you're feeling like right about there with it, like if you're feeling like, oh yeah, that beat, that's easy, then it doesn't matter how complicated or how hard it is or how advanced the beat is. Like don't practice that one because you already have that one down. If you feel like no, there's no way in the universe. There is a way in the universe, but really our best practice, our best progress is made when we're practicing things that feel like, yeah, I really understand it, but it's frustrating that my limbs won't do it yet. If you feel that frustration of my limbs won't do it yet, then you know that you're practicing the right thing and you're making good progress. So this first one would have a kick and a hi-hat on one, and then just the hi-hat on and you should say out loud all the beats, and then two would be the snare. And the thing that makes this one tricky for a lot of people is that on the and of two, there's a kick. So we'd have and then three. So this would be 1 and 2 and 3. Make sure you go slow enough when you start these beats that you can really follow along and your brain can analyze what you're seeing and what you're hearing. Because a lot of people, when they try a beat like this, they're going to want to go 1 and 2 and 3 and they're going to put the two kicks, because we see the two kicks there right next to each other. They're going to want to put those two kicks on 3 and instead of and 3. So watch out for that. 1 and 2 and 3 and then two snares on 4 and for all of these, loop them around at least, I'd say at least 5 times. If you can get it 5 times perfect, that's good. If you can get it 10 times perfect, that's even better. And then always practice with the metronome. So this is a metronome at 80 beats per minute. This might be a little bit too fast to start at. Yeah, maybe start at like 60 or so, 50 maybe. So, but the speed would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and. So at this point, I've only done, I think, like 5 or 6 of them in a row, and then I messed up, so I would need to go back and like try it over again until I could get 5 or 10 of them in a row that were all perfect. Then moving on, and so don't forget to always loop it a whole lot of times, because when you go to play a song, you're going to have to play that beat, a good 50 to 100 times in a row. So just 5 is not going to cut it. This next one here is going to be 1 and 2 and 3. And what makes this one tricky is there's no kick on 3, but there is a kick on the end of 3. So your right foot is generally going to want to play on 1 and also 3. So anytime you do something that's not on 1 or not on 3, and you do right before or right after, that always makes it a little bit trickier. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3, and then a kick on and, snare on 4, kick on and then when we loop it back around, we find that there's another kick right next to it. So it looks like there's just one kick there at the end. But the truth is there's 2 kicks there at the end, because after you play that one, you got to loop it back around at the beginning. So the one at the end plus the one at the beginning, there's going to be 2 in a row. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. And then on this next one, go ahead and pause the video right now and try to play this one here without me and see if you can nail that one down. I'll wait for you. All right, welcome back. So this one here is just going to be sometimes referred to as like a 2-beat, and it's just the kick and the snare back and forth. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's with the hi-hat also. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. What makes this one tricky is it is usually played at a pretty quick tempo. So trying to get it up to the speed of a song, well, Go try it with a song, and you tell me if it's difficult or not. If it's not, that's great. Good for you. So the next one is going to be 1 and 2 kicks in a row. 1 and 2 and is by itself, and then 3 and 4 and. And so when you look at this one, hopefully from the one before, you recognize, oh, this one looks like it's alone, but it's probably not. It actually has all 3 of those right next to each other. So it's going to be and 1 and. So it's going to feel like 3 kicks in a row, 1 at the end of the measure, and then 2 at the beginning of the measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and don't speed up on your own. Use your metronome, get it 5 to 10 times perfectly, and then bump the speed up by usually about 5 beats per minute at a time. So if you're practicing at 80 beats per minute, then you get it 5 to 10 times perfectly, then bump it up to 85, and then try the whole thing at 85, and then bump it up to 90. That way you can make sure that you're not skipping over any difficult sections, because sometimes you could do it like at 80 perfectly, and you could do it at 120 perfectly, but somewhere in the like 95 range, it falls apart. So you want to run into all of those as you speed it up, not just speed it up with like however it feels comfortable for you. You want to do things that are uncomfortable. That's the whole point of practicing. This next one here has a kick on 1, and then and is just the hi-hat, 2 is the snare and the hi-hat, and 3, and then this one, if you're looking ahead, you can already tell it's got 4 kicks in a row. That's right, 4 kicks in a row. Hopefully you saw that. We got 3 at the end, and then we got the 1 at the beginning. So now we've got 4 kicks in a row. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and of course, the more you speed this one up, the trickier that's going to get with your right foot. Next one, we've got the kick on 1, and then 2 on the kick on 2 as well, and then the and is just the hi-hat, and then the second half of this measure is like that 2-beat feel that we had, 3 and 4 and. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. That's that beat. Let's move on to the next one. And for all of these, it'd be really good to just like pause the video before I play it and see if you can go figure it out. This one here is super tricky because, like we talked about in our last video, this one here is gonna like take a lot of stuff out. So usually your right hand gets to just like keep track of all those beats, and on this one, it doesn't get to keep track of all of them. All of your limbs are keeping track of the beat. So you got to go 1 on the hi-hat, and then and on the kick, and then 2 on the snare, and then and on the kick. And then the second half of the measure is the same as the first. So it'd be 3 and 4 and. And so for some people, this is really easy. For a lot of people, this is really difficult because you have to spread out that keeping the beat throughout your whole entire body instead of one limb just doing that and everything else just kind of decorating the beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Trying that with a metronome, then moving on. Try this one on your own. This has a similar problem to it, that there's not a hi-hat that goes all the way through. So it would be 1 on the kick, and then you can see my dominant hand is already getting ready to play. The and then 2 is the snare, and then and is the hi-hat. The second half of this measure just copies the first half. So it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and then this last beat that we're going to try together here would be it's got the same issue. This whole second page is just the taking the hi-hat out of some of the beats to give you an idea of how that feels. So this is very similar to one of the earlier ones, except it's got a kick on 1, and then the hi-hat on and then the 2 on the snare. But then this time when we go back to this one, we've got a kick on the and then all again on the 3. So we'd have and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then, of course, you've got some extra measures in here so you can try out some of your own things. Try taking out some of the hi-hats. Try taking out some of the snares. Anytime you don't have a kick on one, that's going to be tricky. Anytime you don't have a hi-hat, that's going to be tricky. And then generally the snare is going to want to happen on beat 2 or beat 3. So not putting on 2 or 3 is its own kind of torture, but that's really what we're here for, is to try things that we can't quite do yet. So until next time, explore, mess up, have fun, rock on.